Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's play some Foundation, shall we? Doing a guide for complete beginners. So I've been playing a lot of Foundation on the channel. I really enjoy the game. It's such a cool and chill builder. It's also quite beautiful. And yet, as I have found playing the game on stream and off stream, there are some elements that are not fully explained or conveyed by the game itself, even with the tutorial system that's baked in. And what I want to do here is start a brand new game of Foundation so that you can play along or just watch along, learn to play, see if this is the kind of game that you might be interested in. And what we're going to do is play it together in such a way where I will explain my thought process as I build. I will give you the fundamentals about the UI, the controls, how to play, some basic tips and tricks and things that I have found. But I am not a min-max player. I am not going to explain the game in that way of like the fastest way you should build or the best and optimal design and layout strategies, but rather just kind of arm you with enough of the basics and concepts so that you can play the game however you like and build the settlement that is right for you. I have a Let's Play for Foundation that shows me starting a couple of times with some different settlements for the very first time on different maps. If you're interested, that I'll link in the description below. And the goal here is to make a guide series, which is going to be a play-along guide so that you can see the content of the game unfold and emerge organically and get an understanding for the game in the greater context of a full journey from beginning to middle and as far as we go. So let's go ahead and click New Game. And from here, at this point in the game's development, you can choose between coastal, fluvial, or hills. And these are the kinds of maps. So if we wanted coastal, most of the map is for us to build. There's just a coast and kind of like, you know, in the northwest and a little up here. Fluvial will make a big river sweeping through. And then the hills, as you can see, well, it has a bunch of hills, but it also has some lakes. Now, if you click on these, we can make a determination just based on the picture of what if we want to go here. But we can also, let's just say I take hills. I can click on this die to kind of randomize it to get a different layout. And then I can also use these sliders here to adjust how many hills or how many lakes, you know, that we have on the map in its random formation. So I actually kind of like how this looks. We'll be able to do some fishing if we want. We've got a lot of space to build. It's nice and flat, and it's a good place for us to settle. My Let's Play is on Fluvial, which I enjoyed as well, but this looks like we've got a lot of place that we can use to kind of build up. So let's say this is good. Now in the bottom left here, you're going to see the map seed if you want to go ahead and play on the exact same map that we are. And I'm going to select the rules. Now, from the rule set, we're going to just use Classic, play the game as intended, perfect for your first playthrough. And I'm going to keep the tutorial on, and I'm not going to change any of this. I don't really recommend that you change it for your first time until you get an understanding of the game and what you want to do. Some of these things you can do to make it much, much easier, but I like the game as it is on Classic, and I don't find it to be prohibitively difficult. In fact, the game will give you a lot of get-out-of-jail-free scenarios if you do get off track. So I'm going to keep things as is here, and now we're going to select our aspiration. And this is kind of like, what do we want to do in our game? Do we want to relax and play on my own? Build a prestigious burg? Build a prosperous priory? Or build a mighty stronghold? So again, I like the default mode here, which allows us to kind of do all of these things and whenever we want. We aren't like bound to focusing on a monastery or taxation, workforce, or building a big military. We can do those things, but as we like. So I'm going to go ahead and relax and play on my own. From here, you get to describe your village, which is just basically your village name, your player's name and title, and then your heraldry, which is kind of like your coat of arms and what your banner looks like. So we have some fish here, which is, kind of fun. You can adjust the color of your shield. So if we wanted it to be this kind of nice blue, and then we can have these fish be this color here with a nice dark outline. Oh, that doesn't look good. What about that? That looks pretty realistic. What about the white? No. Lots of choices here. That's terrible. That's okay. So, I'm fine with these jumping fish. And this kind of checkerboard pattern looks good to me. And for our village name, we're going to be Incomp Tutorial. And our name, the only title we have right now is Pioneer. But as you play the game and kind of make progress, you will unlock more titles for yourself. And our title will be Incompetent. Pioneer Incompetent. Okay. And I think all of this looks good, so I'm just going to start the game. A new beginning. After a long journey throughout the realm, your people finally reach new lands. Your lands, territories you can settle for reasons of your own. Your villagers await your command and are eager to offer advice about how to proceed, should you require it. And I would hear your villagers' advice and follow along with their suggestions to learn how to play and give yourself some goals. So let me hear your advice. Well, first of all, in the lower left, or running along the left, if you have multiple quests, the quest module exists, rather. And this kind of tells you some suggestions on what you can do. Now, some of these quests will be timed and will rate your performance and have positive or negative effects, and others are more open tutorials that are suggestions for you to do and don't give you anything other than satisfaction if you complete them. Right now, they're telling us how to move the camera, and they say we can move the camera with the arrow keys, or we can use WASD like so, and we can also zoom in and out on the map with the mouse wheel or page up and page down, and we can tilt the camera by using R and F to adjust the tilt, and we can use Q and E to rotate the camera. Your first territory. To start building your village, you must choose your first territory. Each available starting territory has all the basic resources you need to begin settling the new land. Later, you will be able to expand further by purchasing new territories. All right, got it. And I'm going to kind of hold down middle mouse, and you can also drag while holding down middle mouse to adjust the tilt to get like a top-down view. And you see how when I have the left mouse here, this territory is free, and everything inside these lime green lines would be ours. And there's no other territories they will let us have. There are other... Oh, no, wait. I lied about that. So they won't let us have this coastal one here, for example, but we can buy this. We can buy this. We can't go over here. So just kind of move your mouse around to see where you would like to exist. Or start, I should say, because as you make money, you can start to buy adjacent territories to expand. This is a pretty good starting place. What you want to look for in Foundation as you're choosing your first territory is, some nice land to just build houses and stuff, trees to chop down for lumber, and berries that we can gather for food. Now, if you pick something, like this, which has water, you could fish as well. But this water is taking up a lot of the territory. And so this looks a little bit more sensible, and we can expand to the water territory later. One of the things that you need to know about Foundation, at least as far as I know, is that it does not, when you're buying a territory, tell you what resources are here. And there's no way to really highlight them unless you're trying to build a structure that gathers them. So you kind of have to know what to look for. So for example, the berry bushes, well, they look like berry bushes. Even mousing over them doesn't tell you what they are. There's also some stone right here that we can gather. And let's see, is there anything else that jumps out? There's more berry bushes, there's trees. That's really what we want at the beginning. Stone, wood, food, and some space. But later, once you can build the structures that will gather the resources, then you can see where the different nodes are. But that's what I would look out for when you choose your initial territory. You could see there's some places over here that we could gather as well. Like we could be here, for example, which is a nice wide open territory as well. But I'm going to go back to this one and just left click. And there we go. We purchased it. And we followed the advice. Now they're telling us about the action module. So most actions like placing new buildings or expanding your territory can be performed by the action module at the bottom center of the screen. Right now, all we can do is build stuff, but this will expand into a ribbon with multiple buttons as we go. And a lot of functionality in the game works this way. It's a pretty minimal UI, and certain resources or options won't even be visible until you can actually perform them. So we say, got it. And this hammer, the build icon, we can click it. And the only thing we could build right now is the village center. This is it. This is the only building because this is what you have to start with. So we're going to build this village center, and you do want to put it sort of in the center of your village because this is where all your resources are coming from initially, where all of your villagers will gather things that you bring on your journey. And I'm just going to put it right here in these bushes, like so. Now, once you click it, because I kind of want to destroy these bushes, I don't really want them, they don't do anything for us. What you're going to do is, you see how you can left click and drag along this ring to rotate the village center so that you can make it look aesthetically how you want, and then functionally, all of the 4 arrows, the white arrows around this, are the access points for your villagers. So you always want those arrows, they're pointing in or out depending on what you've got, to be white, meaning people can access it. You don't want it to be blocked by anything else. And then the kind of blue outline, the polygon that's surrounding it there, is showing you the boundaries of the structure itself. You can, if you don't like your placement initially, you can, instead of clicking on the ring on the outside to rotate, you can click on the up, down, left, right arrows here, and then just drag and kind of shift it around if you want to move it there. And you can even destroy it if you want, but we can't destroy it because, we haven't built anything. However, if you altogether don't like what you're doing, down in the bottom center, there is an undo button that you can click to move it back to the previous position, or change the rotation, and then go all the way back to where you need to build it again. So I'm going to actually reselect it and drop it here, and I am fine with this. And then once you're happy with it, you can click build. Now, you can also toggle, these interior access or building parts snap, but they don't do anything for this particular structure. And here, where there is the quill, you can actually rename this if you want, but I'm not going to. Interacting with the world. A villager wants to speak with you. Click on the bubble to start the interaction. Got it. So, I'm going to pause the game by pushing spacebar. Now, you see this, you have founded Hamlet of Incomp tutorial. Anytime you get one of these indicators, they will disappear on their own, but you can always right-click to dismiss them. I found this to be very helpful. At first, I just thought they stay on the screen to make sure that you read them, but for me, it's too long. So just make sure you right-click to get rid of them if you want to dismiss them. So because the game is paused, we can kind of just take our time and look around, and I love looking at our villagers. This is one of my favorite things about the game. They just look so kind of cute and hilarious. It's a very, very good-looking game, and I like their clothing, their hairstyles, their facial expressions. They are funny-looking villagers indeed, and they're ready to go. Now, in the bottom left, let's just talk about the UI. Of course, we have the quest module, which is telling us we completed the advice of placing the village center, but then below that, it's telling you what month, week, and day it is, and it gives you the time buttons. So spacebar pauses the game. You can push 1, 2, and 3 to speed up and slow the game down, or you can click on these buttons down here. And I'm just pushing 1, 2, and 3 on the number keys running along the top of the keyboard horizontally. Now, when people have something they want to say to you, you will see a dialog bubble with an icon depending on who it is that wants to talk to you, and you just left click on this, and they usually will give you some kind of quest or update you on some status change. Right here, they're telling us about organizing work. The second piece of advice comes from a young, enterprising villager. Rather than letting everyone fend for themselves, she suggests that you organize laborers into appropriate workplaces, builders into workshops, woodcutters into lumber camps, berry gatherers into their huts, and so on. So let's put this advice into practice. And when you mouse over this bottom button on the script here, it tells you you're going to start a quest, and they want us to build a builder's workshop. So I'm going to click on this, and you could see, indeed, a new building has become available to us, which is the Builder's Workshop. Right-click to dismiss that. In the bottom left, it's telling us in the quest module, it's updating this. And that's another really great thing. The game is very transparent, gives you a lot of direction, even though sometimes it's too minimal for my liking. And we're going to click down in the bottom center, and we have a new building here. We can't build the village center again. It's done. It's a one-time thing to start you out. And then now we can build the Builder's Workshop. Now this, it says builders can be assigned here to work on construction around the village. So this is where you're going to assign laborers to perform construction jobs, building houses, upgrading structures, building projects that you designate for them to do. And only one builder can be on a task at once. So this is telling you that this will be found, if we ever want to find it again, in the Logistics tab of the Build menu. And once we get more options, it will be categorized into tabs. And it costs up front 5 wood. Well, how much wood do we have? Let's talk about the UI at the top of the screen. So there are some panels of the ribbon running along the top of the screen. And we're going to focus on the elements in the middle here. You could see on the left of the middle, it tells us how much money we have. We have 450 crowns or gold out of 500. That's the max we can hold right now until we build some more stuff, treasury. And this kind of scales icon is telling us our coin's tendency. Like, are we profitable? Are we making money on trade and taxation, etc.? Or are we losing money? You can left click on this to open your budget. You can also hold the mouse over your coins, and then you can click on this button to get a better report of your income and your monthly status. To the right of this is our resource panel. Now, again, this will fill in with more resources when we find them. There are many more resources than this in the game. All we have right now are 10 berries, 20 cloth, 60 wood, and 40 tools, which are these here. And you can mouse over any of these to see what they are, where they are, and even perhaps how many are in use and how many are being made, etc. To the right of that is our villagers panel, which is explaining how many total population we have, and then what rank they are, like serf, commoner, citizen, etc. Then here is our happiness tab. It starts out very low, but once we provide basic needs for them, this will go up. And you need happiness to be high to incentivize immigrants to come who want to settle at your hamlet. And then this is telling us how many people are unemployed. Well, we have everybody is unemployed. To the right of this is our progression. This is kind of like an informal score that is kept, but it also dictates the tech tree where you can buy things based on your prosperity or your influence with other factions, and we'll look at that later. And there's the map over here. Now in the upper right, there's a cog to go to the escape or system menu. And then in the upper left, there is this question mark, which you can push H or click on this to open up the help panel and search it. It's very useful. And then there is this telescope icon, which allows you to, if you click on it, to change different lenses or icons that appear so you can get different views, for example, of undesirable neighborhoods, the beauty, the fortifications, construction preview. You can turn icons on and off, etc. And then you can click on this to kind of minimize it. So I'm going to click now in the bottom center on the Builder's Workshop. And you see this is a kind of a large structure, and we get to pick where we want it. So I recommend you put it next to the resources because they're going to need to get resources, and then they're going to need to go take these to the various construction projects we will assign. The nice thing about most buildings in this game is that as your city grows and your demands for your layout change, you can just move these buildings around. You can even rotate them. Some of them you can scale up or down, and you could destroy them outright. But we're just going to build this right here. And I like the entry point. You see this white arrow, that's where people are going to access it, and we want them to be right next to this village center so they can get the resources and go. So I'm just going to click build. And this is one of the buildings, there's a few buildings like this that are built instantly in the game. And it makes sense because how could this be built without builders? So it's just done. Most of the stuff you build needs a builder to bring the materials and complete the task. So once we build this, it's telling us here about assigning workers. So we can click the plus button in the building panel to automatically assign the nearest villager to a workplace. So I'm going to say, got it, close this window. And the icon of the kind of person with the slash through it means no workers are assigned. So we're going to click on this, and you can see the tooltip window that opens up on the right of the screen for the Builder's Workshop. It says no workers assigned, and you can assign up to 3 workers here, and it's best suited to serfs. So let's just briefly talk about this. When people come into your village, they're starting generally as serfs, which is like the lowest rank. And you have to give them nicer places to live with beauty and other things, provide them with better food and such to allow them to promote to a higher social rank, like a commoner, for example. And then there are certain jobs that are better suited for higher ranking members of your population. So right now, all of the jobs that we're going to be starting out with, or most of them, are suited for serfs, so there's no big deal. But some jobs, for example, like a tailor, it wants a commoner. And if you have a commoner assigned to that role, they're more efficient at it. Now, beyond that, at the beginning of the game, I'm just going to click on this person right here, Dominga. And you can see she is a serf. She's on, this is the kind of villager panel. It tells you what she's doing. She's on her free time because she has no job. Her job is unemployed. Here's her personal happiness. And then here are her, like, what she's looking for, her needs. And when this panel starts to fill out, we will also be able to see her skill level. So everybody starts out, I believe you could see it on this panel. We're going to look at various ways in the book or the royal book or other options for seeing more detailed information about your village and your villagers. But I didn't realize at first when I was playing that people have skill levels. They all start at 0. When they come in, you're starting 10. As far as I understand it, everybody has a 0 skill. But once they start doing a job for a while, they will level up and become better at it. So, you might want to avoid moving people off of a job if they're really good at it, but sometimes you don't have any choice. And just pay attention to what people have been trained at and try to keep them, there potentially, or just, look out for that. Right now, it doesn't matter. So I can click on the Builder's Workshop and just click this plus button here to just randomly assign people. And it doesn't matter who I assign because everybody is equally good at this job. Now it wants us to build a lumber camp. You can see right here we have a new building available. I'm going to right-click this. But I'm not done. I'm going to assign more workers to the Builder's Workshop. Now, if there's any problems with the Builder's Workshop, you'll see here on the status line, like some buildings, like if they don't have the resources that they need, for example, that's a problem, and the game will tell you about that, like we're out of resources. Additionally, we can click on, Bernier here, and click this drop down, and just set them to being a builder. Woodcutter has also appeared as an option. This will fill out again as you give people more options, but I'm just going to say builder. I want more builders, so I'm going to say, hey, go be a builder. And if I unpause the game, then they will go become a builder. So that takes them a second to actually get to the job and to become a builder. And I'm going to push this plus button again to have somebody else become a builder. I want 3 builders right now because people are doing nothing. So the next thing they say down here in the bottom left is build a lumber camp. So I'm going to click build, and you can see now we have the lumber camp here. Now, this actually needs 2 tools and costs 10 crowns or gold or coins. They're just called coins. I'm playing so many different games, like they call it crowns, they want to call it gold, coins. Okay, I apologize. Let's call it coins. And the lumber camp is what we can build here. Now, when I first saw this, because it doesn't explain it to you, I thought the brown area was the workable area. So I was like, oh, okay, so I want to put the brown area like overlapping trees because that's where they're going to go chop down the trees. And indeed, it does say lumber camp cuts trees and produces wood. But really what's going on here is that the brown area that surrounds this indicates the undesirable area or the pollution effect that this will create because it's noisy. So certain operations are noisy and have a negative effect on surrounding homes because people don't want to live near something like that. So you want to put this away from where you're planning on zoning your residential structures because nobody wants to live next to the place where they're chopping and cutting all day long. So that being said, you want to put it close to trees. So I'm going to kind of put this one over here. Now, if you see how if I'm mousing it over and this tree gets chopped down, that's okay. If you build something on top of like a tree, they will chop it down before they build and you won't lose the resources. They'll still get it. So let's just kind of build this over here. All of the access points are available. We could rotate it if we wanted, but that will rotate the shape of the undesirable noise pollution effect. And sure, I'm going to build it like so. And now you could see this was not built instantly. There's like a little kind of outline of, a wheelbarrow and some things saying, hey, this is under construction. And I'm going to unpause the game. I'm going to push 1 just to put it at 1 speed. And you're going to notice that immediately I'm going to click on this and I'm going to pause it to explain. The status bar says it is under construction and it requires 1 production, which is like a unit of work, meaning somebody needs to come do this. And they will. A worker is coming. Bernier is doing this. He's bringing the tools that are required to build this. And the other builders are doing nothing. They cannot help on this project. It's 1 builder at a time. It's a little bit inefficient that way, but that's just how it is. Now he has to chop down this tree like we talked about. to make way for it. Actually, somebody did go chop that down. So in that sense, it looked like somebody helped out. And then Bernier started building. So maybe they were able to help out in some capacity with at least clearing the area. That's interesting. Okay, so now this is done, and we need to assign some laborers. And I'm going to put 3 people right away by clicking that plus button to go become woodcutters. But what are they going to cut? Well, in Foundation, you get to actually paint areas for zones. And that could be a farm, that could be a residential area, or that could be like here, where they're going to cut their wood. So we now have a new action in the bottom center ribbon for painting. And we say, okay, got it. And I'm going to click on this. And right now, all we have are wood cutting, resource removal, if you want to clear an area to make a nice open space, or to tell people not to go someplace if you want to forbid an area. But we're going to click this blue one for painting a wood cutting area. Now, I'm going to show you something. Notice that it's a circular brush that we're using right here, but you can click this if you want to change the brush to a square brush. And then in the bottom right, there's always a control panel to tell you that you can hold control and you can like make this a smaller brush if you want to really detail, or make this even larger if you just want to zone a huge section. I like to use the circular brush myself, but some players like the square for different things, if you want to make a grid, for example. But I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to tell them to cut down all of these trees here. Over here. Over here. In fact, all of this. Now, we got a new building available. I'm going to right-click it, which is a berry hut. And, well, we'll look at those in a moment. I want to finish explaining that you'll notice how I cannot paint outside my territory. They can't go cut trees on the neighboring territory. So even though my brush is overlapping, it is strictly bound to my territory. I'm going to give them a nice big area to cut over here. And once you're done, you just click the paintbrush again. Now, if you don't like something, all you have to do is right-click and paint, and it's like an eraser. Or you can repaint and then say, you know what, I don't want you to go over here. Right-click, perfect. All right, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to move the camera. And the lumber camp is done. I can close that window. And they want us to build. We can build a forester's camp, which will replant the trees so that we don't end up with, clear cutting and no replenishment. So I'm going to click on this. This will take 10 wood and 10 coins. I'm going to put it over here, like right next to... you'll notice the forester's camp, you can actually put a little closer to civilization, because it doesn't actually cause any noise pollution. And I'm actually going to just do that, chop down the trees hilariously. And this is fine. I'm going to build this. And then I'm going to click build again and build a gathering hut. Now, remember when I told you once you build something that can collect resources, all of them will become shown on the map? Indeed. Now that I have a gathering hut selected to be built, there's all the berries. So it tells you, like, okay, here's all the berries you've got, and you want to put this as close to those berries as you can. Now, if you're not doing it, then all the berries hide. So let's go ahead and build this, and I think there's plenty of berries all around here. I'm just going to build this one right here, and I'm going to rotate it around like so. And I'm going to click build, 10 wood for that one. Alright, so let's just unpause the game, and you will see all of our assigned people get ready and go to work. So we've got some woodcutters. You see they have their axes here. They're getting ready to go chop some trees. That we have painted the area for them. And we have builders who are going to go out and construct our gathering hut. We're in fact waiting for a builder, but now they've registered that that's a task they need to do. And Bernier is bringing the wood over. And just in the future, once you have a structure that can gather the resources, you can just click on it to kind of highlight all the other resources nearby. And this is what I do before I buy a territory. I just kind of click and I see where the different resources are to know what I'm getting before I purchase it to the best of my ability. All right, so I'm actually going to speed it up to 2, double speed, just by pushing 2 there. And I'm going to pause it because we have created a forester, and there is a dialog box here. Per building zoning. Some buildings require a designated zone to operate, which you can organize via their building window. So, like farms or, for example, the forester's camp, if I go down to the paintbrush here, there isn't an option to paint the area for a forester, but if I go to the building and then I click this button that says Paint Reforestation Area, now I can set where I want this to be painted. And it does highlight, you could see our woodcutting area, and I'm just going to trace over top of, not the entire thing. So I'm going to give an area that is, back here, and I would like them to eventually cut these trees back a bit. I'll give them this too. This is fine. This looks pretty good. All right. And you can always come and change this if you'd like. There we go. That looks pretty good. Oop. Sometimes I right-click to dismiss the paintbrush, but that is not paint. You can actually just push escape to get rid of it. And then I'm going to push... you can't close this window with escape. It doesn't know I'm targeting that. So now, though, we need to assign laborers to the forester's hut. So I'm just going to push plus, and somebody's going to become a forester. And then we're going to go over here to the berry hut, and you can see I have 3 unemployed villagers. I'm going to put them all on berries. So now everybody has a job. So at least at this point, we have a job for every single person in our settlement. And there they go. I'm going to pause it, just zoom in. I'm going to click away from the berry hut so the berries themselves disappear. But look how cool this game is. You could see this person she has her they have their little hat on and a basket of berries on the back. This dude is working on the tree over here. She's working on the tree. And then let's see if this right here is Hugdreach? I'm not good at pronouncing these names, but it says he's sowing the field, which means he's planting trees because he's a forester. Now, here we go. This is what I was talking about before. You can see it. So you see now that he has the job, in parentheses, it says level 1. And this person is a level 1 woodcutter. And you see this experience bar filling up as they do their task. That means that they are beginning to get better at the job. All of our builders are pretty much doing nothing. You can click on them to see where they're at. You can, pin them or unpin them to follow them. And you can see, like, this person is just standing here. But look at that. They're almost they're like halfway to level 2 on building. So they don't have any jobs to do, but that's okay. They'll jump into action if something needs to happen. Now, advice, needs, and happiness. Now that you have organized your laborers, you can tend to their needs and happiness. Make sure they have access to fresh water and housing. As for food, you'll first need people to store and distribute the berries they collect. From there, your village will have everything needed to welcome its first wave of immigrants. Okay. So they don't have fresh water, they don't have housing, and they don't have a market to distribute their goods. So we need to do all of this. So first of all, we need to paint some housing. Housing is very unique in this game because maybe sort of like city skylines or something, you designate an area for housing and then they build their own homes in that space. Now, there are some things that aren't exactly clear about that process that I want to break down that I didn't know when this was happening. First of all, you need a lot of space for this, and if there is no space for a new person to build their house, it'll tell you that housing is insufficient. You can't see how much space each house is going to take up, or really get a good gauge for how big your area, and how many people your area will house based on its size or anything. You just kind of have to adjust it. And once you're able to upgrade your houses and make them more population dense, well, that goes out the window anyway, because you can pack more people in with the nicer houses. Now, the other thing that's not clear, at least wasn't clear to me, it makes sense, it just wasn't explained by this, which is that it takes a builder to come build the house. So that's kind of obvious, but there has to be a free builder for that. And then it does take resources. So they're going to be taking resources out of your resource pool to build these houses. It's not free to do it. Now, I believe it's 11 wood or something like that to build the basic house. It doesn't take money, but it does take wood. And we can see if it takes tools, but it certainly takes labor, like a builder, and it takes wood. So we say got it, and what we want to do is build... we're going to go to the paint menu, rather, and go to the residential brush. Now, remember when we looked in the upper left at this telescope? I'm going to turn on undesirable neighborhood while I'm thinking about painting. And this will show you, okay, here's where we're cutting down trees. Here's the noise from the woodcutters camp. Actually, the light blue is where we're cutting down trees. The dark blue is where we're replanting trees. And so we want to make houses that are close to the village center and everything, but not close to this brown. Now, it's kind of interesting, but you can have the green overlap the brown, and that's okay. But if the brown is actually touching their house, then it's a problem. But if it's touching their property, it doesn't count. It has to actually hit their house, as far as I understand it. Every member of your village is looking to satisfy essential and additional needs. Villagers fulfill their needs by consuming resources such as berries for the rustic food need, or visiting buildings such as churches for the service need. Check for details by hovering over each need in the villager window so you can kind of see what they want. And now we can build a well and a stone cutter. I'm going to just get rid of that by right-clicking. I'm going to continue painting here. I'm going to paint a pretty big space, actually, for housing all of this. I'm going to make potential housing. Now, it's another thing you can do that's not a bad idea, especially early, is I'm going to right-click around our builder's hut and our village center here, like so. I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to right-click here. I'm just going to make a little, like, indentation or concavity that will be a future space for us to build our market. You want to have space for market stalls to distribute, for example, your berries to people. And you want that to be pretty centrally located. So if we kind of cut in here a bit, it's actually okay to have... I could fill this back in and just make a little indentation here for, some market stalls. We can always change this around later, repaint, even move houses if we need to, but let's just start with this in mind. And I don't care how perfect this looks, because, as you'll see, they are just going to build houses where they want in this green area, and we can't control too much about that except for the boundaries of it. So now we have plotted that in. The screen looks weird. It's all sepia tone. Remember to go back to your visibility if that ever happens, and then just turn the filters on and off. Now what we're going to do is build, and we can build a stonecutter camp and a well. Let's drop in a well, and we want it to be pretty centrally located. So I'm going to put it in that little concavity right here. You see it takes 5 stone and 10 wood, and also 10 coins. So I'm just going to build that there. And now we have one more thing to do, which is to build a stone cutter camp so we can produce stone. This takes 2 tools, 10 coins, 10 wood, and it has to be on stone. And when we open this up, you see we have 1 stone node here. And you'll notice that, well, not a big surprise, the stone cutter camp makes a lot of noise. They're going to be breaking rocks. So you want to put it close to the rock that they're going to work on, but not close to the housing area. Now, watch this as I kind of move the camera. You see the brown area around the stonecutter camp. Now, if I try to overlap with the woodcutter camp, you see how it magnifies the area around the woodcutter camp? It makes it larger because it doesn't let you kind of just like hide the noisy area by grouping them together. It amplifies the sound. So be wary when you do that, that's going to happen. Sometimes it's still the best solution. I'm going to put this, I think right here is good. And I'm going to say build. But now that I have that being built, I'm going to go back to my painting. And I'm going to click on visibility and undesirable neighborhood. And you see how the noise from the stonecutter camp kind of gets in here. I'm just going to move the residential area away from that. And just like that. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to hide this paint. I'm going to go up here and get rid of that. And close this up. And I'm going to unpause it. So all of our builders are going to go do something. You can, in fact, see from this screen, the little gear means that they have an activity that they're doing, and it changes the icon. So they're moving stuff. This box means like they're hauling stuff. The gear means I'm working on something, and then the ZZZ means like they're idle. Okay, I'm going to close the Builder's Workshop window. We could see them start to do a bunch of different jobs. Okay. You can see my game stutter sometimes, and that's because it is auto-saving. I'm actually going to walk back the auto-save frequency. I do want it to auto-save, and there's 10 per playthrough. That's pretty good. The frequency is so high. It's fine. It's helpful, but it does slow the game down a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is we need somebody to work here, but I have no free laborers. So we need to make some adjustments. And I recommend that I'm going to actually peel off a builder. You see, all of the builders are done. You don't always need 3 builders because it's not likely that you're going to have all those projects happening. Sometimes it will, but now I can put somebody over here. And what else do I want to maybe scale back on? You're not going to want to scale back on wood. You need so much wood. You could take back, a berry gatherer, but for now, I'm actually going to do that. I'm actually going to click here and just take off one gatherer and then put them there. Okay. The builders, they said they're idle, but now they're going to do jobs. Somebody's building a house right here. And you could see that somebody is going to build the well. But we can't build the well because we need 5 stone. So you'll see this happen where the resource, the construction is paused. You can see right here, it says there's something wrong. It's not being built, and it's because it's missing the stone. So we have to wait until we get the stone. Now you see this job just popped up, and it is a house that's being built. So Aparicio is doing this job, and she's bringing the 11 wood. So this is how much the house costs, 11 wood. And you can see this house will take 2 people. Actually, Aparicio might be a man. I was looking at this picture, but that's Bellaflore, who's going to live there. Anyway, we'll see in a moment. And somebody else is moving in. Now, it is important to note, like, Brimir moved in there. Your people, at least as far as I know, in this game, they do not reproduce. The only way you get more people is through immigrants coming in. So it's not like Banished where they're having children. It also doesn't really seem like people just room together. They're not really in relationships or anything like that. They'll live in whatever house as long as it's the right kind of house for their status. And I think the game prioritizes proximity to their job, but I'm not entirely sure. But don't worry about like who's living in there. They just automatically do that. And then they're not going to have babies, so you don't have to make space or anything like that for that. Another house popped up over here. Okay. So these houses are coming in, and you can see, there they go. And another house is popping in. Everybody needs a home. You can see happiness is actually starting to potentially go up a little bit. Now, if you knew more about the game, you could jump ahead and build some other stuff. But the thing is, the game doesn't really let you. You need to kind of play along with the tutorial before all of your items are unlocked. So we actually can't jump ahead too much unless we want to double up on some existing structure. So we're just going to go here and let things happen as the houses get built, as the stone comes in. See the clouds passing overhead. And the well does have one stone has been delivered. These houses are done, by the way. So there's 2 people here. 2 people are going to be here. And 2 people here. And we need a couple more houses. Here's another one coming in. You see they're really prioritizing building near the working zones. Nobody's building in this empty space, for example. All right. And one more house, and then everybody has a home. And you can see, actually, happiness is going up. And if we look at the happiness window, it's at positive 15. We only have minus 5% for housing because one group of 2 is homeless, but they're going to get that. They want rustic food, which are the berries. Now, we have berries, but they don't have a way of getting it because they need it to be distributed to them at a market, which we need to build. They also don't have water, so they're unhappy about that. Refined food, we can't produce yet, and we're going to need to wait a moment to get there. Happiness is starting to surge as another house is getting built. Remember how I said you don't want to take people off of lumber? That's why, because we just used all of our wood to make these houses. All right, and our village is looking quite lovely. How much stone do we have here at the well? 3? Perfect. See, they're getting these trees down. I'm going to push 3 and just speed it up so that we can get the rest of this stone in. Our final house will be built. Happiness should go up to 20. There it is. You can see the progress right here of this is the progress bar for the construction of the well. Here it comes. Boom. I'm going to slow the game down. Now they're telling us about multi-part building, and this is a huge part of Foundation, and it was complicated to me at first, but it's a really cool feature for allowing you to build up your manor house or your market, which, for example, we're going to do now. So some buildings, such as the market, have multiple parts and can be customized that way. Each part has a cost and can have a specific effect. Check for details on the part description. Okay, so we can now build a market, and what we're going to do is pause it, go to build. You see here we have a market. There's the little badge indicating this is a new thing. And if I click on this, the build window looks different for multi-part building because there's categorical tabs. Right now it defaults to looking at everything. And there's really only 2 items so far that we can build, which is a food stall and then a tent to go on top. So I'm going to click on the food stall, and this is where we can distribute berries. So remember how we kind of cut out a little bit of this area for our market. I'm going to make our market right here on the dirt in the middle of the town, surrounding this. So I'm going to click here. Now what we want to do is just rotate this in a bit. Make sure all of these arrows are white so it's accessible. Now this is important, and you can reverse it if you get it wrong, but the tilt of this needs to be toward the consumer. So I'm putting this market stall tilting toward the center of this circle so that people can come get the berries, and the person who works here actually stands behind it at the high point of the stall. Now, when you're doing multi-part, you don't click build right now. What you do is you actually go to the next part you want to build, which is the tent, and you see how the stall stays there. And then I'm going to just move this over, and snap is toggled on, so it's just going to snap up, and this provides a tent so that the person working here is protected from the elements. And later it's going to add, beautification because it's attractive. So I'm going to put this here. I like where it is, and then once I have both parts, I'm going to click build. Now each part has a cost. The stall costs 10 wood. The rustic market tent takes 10 wood, 5 cloth, and 5 coins, but it increases the attached building part capacity by 20. So not only does it potentially add beautification later, and psychologically it looks good for the person who works here, it functionally adds 20 capacity to what can be distributed at this stall, which is very important. So it also takes a labor to build, and we now see the combined cost of everything is 20 wood, 1 labor, 5 cloth, and 5 coins. And I'm going to click build. And I'm going to just unpause the game. And look at this. Look at our amazing houses. You'll notice that these houses are different from each other. They build their own structures that have, this person has like a shed in their backyard. They build little fences and stuff. It's just a really cool feature of the game that there's, it's like cities a bit. And this person is hammering away at the market stall. So we have a quest in the bottom left. We're going to build the market. We're going to assign a market tender, and we're going to assign berries. So I'm going to speed it all the way up so this gets done. Okay, it's done. Now, not all of it's done. Just the stall is done. So we should wait for the tent to get finished as well. So we will. But in the meantime, I can assign somebody if I want. So who do I want to work here? Well, where do I want to peel off my labor? I think it's okay to just take a stone cutter away for now, and I'm just going to remove a worker and then put somebody on this job here as the market tender. Now, the stall is done. They're still building. You can see the builders bringing over the logs to build the tent. You can see the capacity right now of the market by itself is only 10. So 20 is, a huge improvement. We have a market tender. And down here, it says assign resource. There's only one resource that can be assigned per stall. And right now, all we can make are food stalls. So we're going to click berries. And you can see that the check mark is filled in for the quest in the bottom left because we've done this. The top circle is not filled in because the tent is not done. I'm going to just push space, and you're going to see that eventually we can't do it because we need 2 more lumber to finish the tent. So we have to wait for them to chop down some more trees. They will. There they go. They got it. And we're going to wait. And our market person, yep, she's coming in. And she realizes we need berries. And so she got some berries from here. This village center, this is where they're bringing the resources. We don't have our own stockpile built yet. This is just where they're bringing the resources. And now, look at this. The berries are on display, and the market is being finished. It's almost done. Hammer, hammer, hammer. It's a lot of work. And we did it. So now we're a village, and we've unlocked a title, Lord and Lady, so we could change our name if we wanted. And I'm going to right-click on this, and see right here, Visna, the market tender, is transporting berries from the internal storage of the gathering hut. This can hold 50 berries before it overflows, and she's moving them here to distribute. If I look at happiness, you can see our happiness is up. Why is that? It's because of housing, it's because of water, and rustic food is also going to start wearing away as more of the villagers come to pick up food, take it home, and eat it. So our happiness is on the rise. I'm going to click on this question mark, and it says editing buildings. You can edit any constructed building by pressing the edit building button. This allows you to actually move things if you don't like the arrangement. So you can move most buildings. You can rotate them. You could scale them up or down to make them have more capacity, like a tavern or a church or something. You can, with a multi-part building, once you unlock more blueprints and stuff, you can add more features. Monuments can be improved with additional parts and sub-buildings, and double-click a building part. It'll let you select all parts simultaneously if you want to move all parts of a multi-part building. Now, one thing I do want to clarify about multi-part building, if I build like another market stall that's over here, multi-part buildings do not have to touch each other. Sub-buildings do not have to necessarily touch. You could build like a shed or an extension or some kind of decorative element far away. The game will tell you if it's too far away to be part of the building, and then you can rearrange them and move the whole group, so you are not like expected to connect everything. It doesn't have to actually touch. It can be far away, and that's very helpful when you're planning and you're building. Just going to slow the game down a bit, and you could see she's filling up the stall, and she's chilling there. And we could close down the market. And now it says we need to assign a job to everyone, so that's good. People like to be employed. They don't like being unemployed, and we need to raise the happiness to 75. So that's just something that's going to happen over time. As they get the rustic food, which are the berries, as they get the water, and as all of their housing needs are erased, the happiness will go up, and then immigrants will want to come settle here. Even if you instantly provide the resources, it does take time for the happiness to kind of reflect that they have access to these items. So just be patient. Everyone, I think this is a good place to stop our first episode of this Beginner's Guide series to Foundation. It's such a wonderful and fun game, but there are some things that I found unclear, and I hope to explain them in the guide series for you, and I hope you can get a feel for whether or not this is a game you might want to play. If you have any questions about Foundation, please put those in the comments below. I'd love to help you with the game, and if you are a Foundation veteran and you'd like to share some tips and tricks for new players in the comments below, that'd be fantastic. Just make sure you do it in a way that's not too far in the weeds, and it's non-spoilery for new players, so it's not overwhelming and doesn't kind of ruin any of the sense of wonder as things emerge in the game. I'd appreciate that so much. Everyone, thank you for watching, and I will check you in the next episode. Take care.